Good evening. How are you today, Sammy? Hey, Josh. What are you doing, Sammy? Still helping your dad? Hey, Maureen. How are you today? Josh, what's happening up there with the Freedom Convoy? Since they started the one down here, that's the only thing I hear about, and there's not much happening with it as far as I'm concerned. I'm doing all right, Maureen. It's just another day. Still warm here tonight. Still 71 Fahrenheit. Let's see, that comes out to. And let me refresh this. 21 Celsius. Yeah, I've seen that on the news quite a bit too. Hey, Mike. Yeah, but Mike, I got my new glasses on. Hey, Jonah. How are you this morning? Yeah, Josh. I mean, the Ukraine's making the news down here naturally, and then the U.S. convoy. And with that, though, like I say, everything about the Canadian convoy kind of disappeared. Well, that's good to hear that you're doing fine. Did you get to go hiking yesterday, or are you still pretty much confined to the house? Well, mine don't get dark when I go outside. I got the cheap ones. Well, that's totally wrong. Kind of goes against freedom of speech, doesn't it, Josh? But that's the same thing now that's happening in Russia. Anybody over there that's been saying anything bad about what they're doing in Ukraine has been getting arrested. Just kind of, they don't want anybody to tell the truth about what's going on. So they're going to try to put a stop to it. Yeah, I agree. If it doesn't fit their liking, that all of a sudden the rules change. I think there's going to be a bunch of change down here coming up, next election and stuff. Hey, Ken, I was seeing today there that they're talking about come election time. Right now, there's 31 Democrats in Congress that aren't going to run for re-election. Okay, Mike. So if they lose 31 Democrats out of Congress, that's probably going to turn everything around for them. I mean, whoever runs in their place may still be Democratic and get elected, but you never know. Well, Mike, do you think she's happy with the glasses? I know it's going to take some getting used to having to wear them all the time. She's doing laundry. I did that this morning. Dried good today too because it was nice sun and a lot of breeze today. That's what I figured. She's going to do with them like she did with the heater and dehumidifier, only part time. And if she needs them, full time, she should wear them full time. I mean, it'll take a little while for her to get used to them, just because she hadn't had to wear them for other than just wearing sunglasses. And the other comment she made about them, which was good, she said when she tips her head down, they don't slide down her nose. Well, that's not the nose piece like she was thinking. That's the bows where they're over your ears. But if they're properly adjusted what to fit her, that's good. That would make it more comfortable for her, and she won't mind wearing them so much. That's what I hate about these sometimes because they want to slide like this on me. But I didn't pay much for these. That other video we talked about there, Mike, I watched it this afternoon. That was kind of a crazy deal. Both of them acted stupid to the whole thing. Well, they're still the same, Josh. I've got one that I haven't seen in a few days, so I don't know whether something's happened to her or if she went and had another litter of kittens somewhere and I don't know where they're at. She didn't appear to be pregnant when I last saw her, so I really don't know. The last time she had kittens, she had 4. My other one there, Jill, that had 7 before, is pregnant again. And she's getting big. I got to start finding places to get rid of the new ones when they come. And then get the other ones fixed or something. I just hate to spend the money for doing it, but I've got a bunch of videos on my cats there, Josh. They're the earlier ones in my listing. Hey, Ronald, I haven't seen you in a while. But my first bunch of videos were all about the cats. I haven't done it in a while. I should just go ahead and get another one just to fill some space, on here. But mine have never gotten that many views. Most all of my cat videos, I think, are minute and a half or so, I think. I don't remember. Yeah. Well, see, mine were when I was first starting doing it myself. Didn't know what I was doing, so I just kind of did what I could and uploaded them accordingly. Also, at that time, my internet was slower. A 2-minute video back then used to take me 2.5 hours to upload. I've got a 5-foot chain link all the way around my yard, Mike, but they either go between because I've got double gates at the driveway, that swing out like this, because my driveways are that wide, but they go between the gates at both driveways, and part of them just climb over the fence. My older cats climb over it pretty fast. I've got a couple of younger ones that are just learning it, and they're kind of like kids in the monkey bars going up the fence like this. It's comical to watch them. I went out tonight and found where one of the dishes are on the front porch, and went out there and shined a flashlight in on the dish, and there's another stray cat that keeps coming around, sitting there eating, and it just turned around and kept looking around trying to figure out where the light was from. Still didn't even realize I was there. I finally made noise and scared it, and it took off running. It hit the fence probably halfway up, and a couple more bounces, and it was over the fence and gone across the road. And lately, the couple of them there, they've started where they're always going up the tree after squirrels and stuff. They've gone up the one tree out here by the driveway, then they jump over on the garage roof, come down across the carport, And then wondering how to get down. I got that old refrigerator sitting in the driveway by the front of the carport for scrap. They'll jump down on top of that and then jump down to the ground. Somehow I've had, I don't know if it's the same one or more than one, that's been up on top of the house. One was up there the other night, and I called to it, and it came over to where I was at. And I was able to stand on top of the pump shed out there and reach over and pick it off and put it on there where it could get down. But another night I heard something on the roof, went out and looked, and the roof on this room here is fairly flat, and then the main part of the house is really steep. And at night with the dew on it, anytime that metal roof gets wet, it's really slick. And that cat went running across the flat part of the roof and started out across the sloped roof, found out how slick it was, and went sliding down it, went off the roof out on the ground. That was quite a little fall. I don't even know which one it was. I mean, because the time I got around that side of the house, it was already gone. Yeah, like I've said before, this used to be my mom and dad's house. And when dad's garage got broke into years ago, he put up the 5-foot chain link all the way around the property. It don't keep the thieves out, but it slows them down a little bit and may discourage some because they'll go someplace that's easier to get in and out of. Washing machine. No, I've got one out in the backyard that I haven't hauled in yet. I've got a closed dryer sitting out in the driveway I haven't hauled in yet. There's 2 refrigerators out there, 10 bicycles, part of a house trailer frame, other miscellaneous. I've hauled in quite a few washing machines and clothes dryers in the past. Good evening, Miss Yang. How are you tonight? Now, anybody that wants to talk to anybody about cold weather, Yang's videos in USA, she's in Minnesota. So she can tell you what it's like to get cold. Especially being that she's a Filipina. I don't keep them any longer than I have to, Mike. The ones I've got, it's just because I haven't got them hauled in yet. I don't make a special trip to haul my scrap in. I figure, that defeats the purpose of trying to take it if you're using fuel just to do it. So I try to take when I need to go to town with the truck to go to Lowe's or someplace like that. I take a load with me. Hey, Nancy. How are you this evening? There's her link if you'd like to check out her channel. Her and her husband just recently got back from Puerto Rico. Was down there enjoying the nice weather. I have to keep getting on to her though. She keeps mixing her husband and me up all the time. We're both the same name, so she gets us mixed up. Mike, you said Rena's doing wash. All she got to do is throw it in and turn it on, doesn't she? No, wait, hers has got to be filled at the faucet too, doesn't it? I forgot about that. Yeah, I haven't seen IJ in a while either. She's done a couple of short videos, but I haven't seen her do any live streams lately. Yeah, I know you said that the other day that you didn't realize. Well, you're never going to change her, Mike. That's all there is to it. Yang, have you talked to Anna Lynn lately? Last I talked to her was on your live the other day, but she hasn't been. Her and Judith, neither one have been here at my live in a while. But Mike, a lot of that goes back to the old. Don't want to use the water. Don't want to use the electric. Whatever. Okay. See, I didn't get notification that you did one. I missed it. Tim K bought his mother-in-law a washing machine right after him and his other half there got married. And she seldom ever uses it either. She still does everything by hand. It's just, an old habit. It's going to be hard to get them to break. Yeah, I email Anna Lynn and Judith both every once in a while, but we haven't even done that in a while. Probably not since Christmas. The other two that her and I are talking about are both Filipinas that live in the Tampa area of Florida. Now, Anna Lynn and her husband Skip have made several trips to New York. They go up around the Lake Placid area. So she's gotten to see snow up there. Josh, I haven't fished since I've been in Florida. When I used to live in New York, I used to fish all the time. In the spring, especially, after bullheads and dipping for smelt. I had a night line. I used to set out in the marsh for bullheads there at times, and grew up as a kid fishing off my parents' dock with a bamboo pole and a bobber even. But I haven't fished since I've been in Florida. I haven't hunted since I've been in Florida. Sammy's back. She's supposed to be working, but she's goofing off. Josh, one of I used to enjoy doing was going fishing with a great uncle up on the St. Lawrence River. They had a cottage over on Wellesley Island in the Thousand Island area. I used to go fishing with him up there in St. Lawrence once in a while. You going to bring that plywood home on your motorbike? You better do a video when you do that. I want to watch. But we used to fish on the St. Lawrence there for a northern pike. I hadn't heard about that, Ronald. Almost a little early in the year for tornadoes. Yeah, and the thing with a tornado, you never know where it's going to hit or whatever. And they can come through and hit one house and miss the one next door. I've often said, that I would like to put in one of them underground whatever storm shelters that you can get, but I've never done it. The other thing I always read about getting one of those, you get in there and the thing underground. Then if the house blows apart and it all lands on top of it, you couldn't get back out. I mean, they make some that, they're pre-made that you just have to, dig your hole and set them in. They're kind of built, look like an igloo. Or if you're, I guess, real adventurous, you could try to build your own. You could pour one with concrete or whatever. Doing the floor and the walls wouldn't be hard, but never quite figured out how to put a top on it with concrete. Well, that would be a good one there. The only thing, if you did it with steel and buried it, then you got the potential for rust over time. But yeah. But even, I guess, if you got the steel cargo containers and only buried it halfway even. that would be the point that I don't think the wind would ever lift it out or tear it apart. And they're pretty sturdy. And then if you take their cut you a couple small windows and put in it, and use the plexiglass, safety glass, whatever, like they use for bank tellers or jail cells or any of that stuff, that takes a lot to break or crack one. Put a couple windows in so you'd have some access to see what's happening outside. I mean, there are people that have even used those containers like that and used them and made a house out of them. Depending on the size, and I'll do it and make one small house out of one, or get adventurous and either put two of them side by side or stack them. Stacking them wouldn't be a good idea as far as tornado shelter, but if you building like in the mountains of Montana or wherever like that, where you didn't have that problem, it would make a nice little house. Yeah, because they're building them to meet today's codes and stuff, so that makes them stronger. Even your mobile homes today, which most of them are double wides anymore, modular homes, whatever they want to call them, compared to the old single wide mobile homes. They've gone to 2x4 walls instead of the old 2x2. You can even get them made with 2x6 walls. A 2x6 wall would let you put a lot of insulation in it, which would be helpful against the heat or the cold. You don't see your message. Which one? I see a couple of yours. One says, that's what happened to me. And the next one was when COVID first hit, people were living in them. They're showing up here unless you've got more that I don't see. Did you put a link in it? Because if you posted any kind of a link in it, YouTube won't let it post. Retry it, Josh. It should show now. Because if you're not a moderator, Now, if you're not a moderator and anything you put in, if you include a link in the message, YouTube won't post it. But if you do it now, it should show. Did any of you see Amore's recent video there about different types of ferns and stuff, and they were picking them and then cooking them up to eat? Go ahead and post the link for your community page, Josh. That way everybody can see it. But Amore just did a video over there in Hong Kong of them picking ferns and stuff that they said are safe to eat, and they were cooking them, for their meal. I teased her about I had weeds in my yard she could come pick. But some of the stuff you can learn from them, the Asians, for things that you can eat that we never think of. I mean, it's just something you would never think of, going out and picking ferns to eat. Well, that's true, Ron. That, like I told her, I says, everybody on this side of the world wants everything given to them, or they want it in a tin can. They don't want to go out and actually physically get something and then fix it to eat. But what she was saying there in her video, you have to kind of watch and know what you're doing, because I think she said there was 4 kinds of ferns that are good to eat, but there's a couple others that are poisonous. So you have to know which kind you're picking. Now you say that's a fishing channel, Josh? Okay. Okay, looks like he's a bass fisherman and stuff, huh? Crappies, panfish. And he's got walleyes and bluegills also. Okay. There's another group of people there that have a what they call the catfish channels. They're all fishing up in Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia and stuff like that, and they're getting a 30 and 40 pound catfish all the time. And there's a group of them that do videos on that, and then they get together and have fishing contests to see who can catch the biggest one. And everything they catch, they turn loose. There's one channel there, I think it's Two Stands Fishing or something like that. He recently had caught a 220 pound sturgeon. That's a lot of fish. Yeah, I see he's only got 151 subs right now. Washington State is one that I've never been to yet. I've been to Biggest Share of the rest of them out there, but I haven't been to Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, or Utah. Kuya Elber, how are you this evening? Or I guess it'd be daytime for you. But I've been through all of them, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, and worked my way back east. I mean, I've run a bunch of them when I was hauling cars and stuff when I was on the road, but I never went out into the Rockies and stuff. So all of those I got when I still lived at home with my parents, and we used to travel a lot. We went, Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, places like that. Back at that time period, I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Big Piney, Wyoming, which was a gas town. Where they had the gas well. Everybody that lived in that little town worked for the gas company, El Paso Gas. Other than the hassle, keeping up with all the new regulations and the crazy traffic and whatnot, I miss being on the road. I enjoyed the travel. Even if sometimes I run the same route, more than once, you always saw something that you missed the first time around. And the other stuff, you get to the point, that as you're driving, you look forward to seeing a certain thing coming up over the next hill that you knew was going to be there. Ken and Mike both got quiet. I thought maybe Rena or Maureen was on, but I don't see that. Don't show that they're live or anything. I forgot it, Josh, until you mentioned that. You're going to wait a year before you go, Ronald? Well, in a year's time, that should let things settle down for a bit for all the people that are wanting to rush over there now. And if the airlines get back on a more normal schedule, the prices will probably come back down too. The prices have been high for quite a while because there hasn't been anybody flying. There's a Filipina out of Kentucky that just went back to the Philippines here this past month. And she said part of her flight, there was only 5 passengers. Now, you know, the airline's not making any money with that few people flying. And that just drove the prices up for them to try to make up the difference. Hey, G, how are you this morning? Oh, she's cooking now, Mike. $800 for ticket. Oh, well, you're in Washington, yeah. Because the last I looked at them here, I think it was around 1,200 from Florida. I paid 1,200 for them back when I flew in 2006, 2007. When I went in 2006, I went to Davao, so I had the extra flight from Manila down to Davao. In 2007, I rented a van to go from Manila over to the Bicol region to Dait, and I only paid a few dollars difference for that flight than I did the other one. Okay, Josh. Well, that's what we were just talking about, Chi. Tickets and stuff are high because they've been flying so many flights with nobody on them. You know, they don't have many passengers running because of the COVID requirements. But now that they've started to open stuff back up and letting more people fly, when the airlines start getting busy again, I think the prices will come back down. I mean, they're just going to price it accordingly so they're, you know, they can make money. Now it's 120K for where? That's 2,400 US. Yeah, but gee, you can get them cheaper than that right now if you don't try to book them like now. I mean, if you go online and book one for somewhere in March to fly, yeah, it's that price. But if you book it out for a month or so later, you can get them down around 1,200. And let's see, 1,200 would be 60,000 pesos. So half of what you're looking there. And a lot of that too depends on what part of Canada you're flying out of, same as what part of the U.S. Ronald was talking about going from Washington State over there for 800, where here from Florida to Manila is 1,200. Yeah, and one of the other things that I've always said, Ron, about the flying and stuff, they should eliminate, the alcohol in the airport and on the planes, because there's few of them there. Once they get a few drinks in them, then they just get belligerent. I mean, you give them enough alcohol before they fly, then it's kind of like Friday night bar time. What they need to do on that is have a small decompression chamber on the plane where they can put them into that, close the door, and then open the outer door and just kick them out at 40,000 feet. You do that with a couple of them, and after a while, the rest will kind of simmer down. I think so, Mike. Well, you could send Putin a text or something, let him know you're flying by. Yeah, but Ronald, what the reason he's saying that, because him and Ken are leaving in April to go to the Philippines. They're flying out of Chicago, which that flight goes up over Canada, across Alaska, and borders over Russia before it goes down to Japan, then on to Manila. And with the way things are going in Russia right now, they may shoot them out of the air. That's similar to the flight path I took when I fly over, because coming out of Orlando, I go to Detroit, Michigan, fly that same flight over Canada, Alaska, and then the outskirts of Russia, and then end up in Nagoya, Japan. Mike's flying going in near Tokyo. Well, it's okay, Ken, if he falls asleep on your shoulder, as long as he don't drool. Gee, for me flying out of Orlando, Florida, going to Manila is about 22 hours. You must have longer layovers than Ken. Like I said, mine was 22 hours from Orlando. But I had a 1 hour layover in Detroit and a 2 hour layover in Nagoya, Japan. Coming back, I had a 2 hour in Nagoya and then 2 hours in Detroit, because in Detroit, coming back, you go through customs, where you guys will go through customs in Chicago coming back. Yeah, you lose time going over because you're already ahead of us in time. Now coming back, you gain on it, because when you leave Japan coming back, time you get back into, they're coming back into Chicago. I came back into Detroit. You got back into in over here before you left over there, because you're gaining time coming back. Yeah, your Chicago layover, you're going to change planes because you're going to go from a small one to a big one. And then the one in Nagoya, you'll get off the plane, they'll clean it, refuel it, restock it with food and everything, and you get back on the same plane. You know what your layovers are coming back, Ken? Because when you come back through Japan, you'll have that same situation where they clean the plane, restock it. Yeah, you got to watch that, Mike. Sometimes you can get off the plane, you don't think you got an hour layover, and while you're walking from one place to the next gate, they'll tell you they're already boarding. But Ken, when you come back, when you hit Chicago coming back, you have to hit customs there. I used to get a 2 hour layover coming back because you never knew how busy customs was. Hour and 50, well, okay. That's about 2 hours. Now, Ken, do you have one of them harness things with the like a leash on it that you can put on Mike so he don't get lost at the airport? You don't want him wandering away on you. Handcuffs. Yeah, but you can still wander away with handcuffs. Unless you're handcuffed together. Well, Mike or Ken, if you can't find Mike when you're in the airport, just go check the bar. He'll probably be in having a drink. Hey, Jim. I'm sure you will, Mike. Ken, what time does your flight get into Manila? Because Mike said you're leaving in the morning early, so you should get in early evening, I would say, the next night. No, he's still hanging out in Texas. Because when I used to fly over there, I would leave out of Orlando mid morning, then get into Manila 10 or 11 at night the next night. I have a feeling you guys are going to be making more than one trip back and forth over there. When you did this, did you fill out the stuff to get your frequent flyer miles with them? That way later on you can use them for other flights. I got an email from Delta the other day, and they said I've got 133,000 and something frequent flyer miles with them right now. Yeah, but Mike, you always grab what you can get free. Like I said, Delta just emailed me and said I got 133,000 frequent flyer miles. I think that's just about enough for a free flight to the Philippines and back. You got to go out and drive more than that, Jim. Got to keep them tires rotating so that they don't dry rot sitting around the driveway. I I change the oil every 5,000 miles in my truck, and now that I'm not working, I haven't changed the oil yet on my truck in 5 years. I don't have enough miles on it yet. You gonna buy your own tricycle over there? I mean, you can get a motorbike and get around easy with it, but you have a tricycle, it makes it easier to keep your groceries dry when you bring them home if it rains. Ken, is it Marine's brother that has a tricycle over there? Yeah, but I hate spending the money on taxis. I'd rather ride a tricycle for all the farther that I run when I go. Tricycle or jeepney. Mike, you gonna put training wheels on a scooter for Rena? Oh, it's her dad that has it. Okay, I knew somebody did, but I couldn't remember who it was. Rona that just went from Kentucky over to the Philippines to see her family. She's staying over there, I think, a month or whatever with them. But her family has their own tricycle they use just to go to town and do whatever. And then the kids have all got motorbikes. they use such a small bike to build their tricycles with, and then kind of works them pretty hard there. Time you make a tricycle out of it, and then load 3 or 4 people on it. Oh, that's true, Ken. And then if you get in an accident, yeah, that's true. I mean, prices of cars over there, I mean, just like here, they've gotten ridiculous. I don't remember who was. Maybe it was Josh was telling us the other night. Price of gas up there in Canada where he's at, which theirs is by the liter. By the time you convert it over, it's $6 or something a gallon. I mean, everything in Canada is high, but that's a lot of money just to pay for gas. There's another truck driver I used to talk with quite a bit. I lost contact with him there. I don't know why. Whether he stopped doing YouTube videos or what it was, because I haven't seen his stuff on in quite a while. But they used to do one every once in a while. Him and his wife would just go get groceries. It was always strange to watch it when they bring it in instead of like we get the cardboard cartons or the plastic jug for milk. Theirs came in a plastic bag. Now, yours is high there too, Ronald. Our gas here's I think around 3.45, almost $1 less than yours. Is your gas tax high out there? That's one of the other things that makes a difference on pricing. I know California's, fuel tax for gas and diesel both are high. Mike, the other day when I was in Umatilla, west of here, a little small village, they've only got one truck stop. I think it's got 4 pumps. Their diesel price over there was $3.12. It was less than gas. Yeah, see, I've never run up into Washington, so I had no idea. Because when I was, running on the road, That was the thing I always watched where I bought fuel at because of the highway use tax or the highway tax on gasoline and diesel. Pennsylvania's high, California's high. Oklahoma's one of the cheapest to buy in. I think South Carolina may be another cheap one. Florida used to, and Georgia used to be even cheaper, but now Georgia's up equal with Florida. Yeah. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but I think the last time I had looked at Pennsylvania was 73 cents a gallon tax. That was one of the things there being on the road. Some people used to say, you know, don't buy gas in such and such a state because of the fuel tax being higher. Well, yes and no. You have to pay, as a commercial vehicle, you have to pay the fuel tax for the miles you drive in the state, regardless whether you buy it there or buy it somewhere else. Because when you file your IFTA fuel tax every quarter, they still get you for it. You just have to look and see how much the fuel tax is, and which leaves what the regular price of gas is, and find out which states have the cheaper gas prior to fuel tax, and buy those. And then just pay your IFTA fuel tax afterwards to get the balance done. You can save that away. Well, I wonder if Sammy got her plywood home. Yeah, Jim, most people don't realize what kind of an expense there is in just owning a car. I've got neighbors here around me, that don't have a vehicle and just always want somebody to give them a ride somewhere. And don't realize what it costs just to keep that thing running down the road all the time. Okay. That's not a bad deal. So where you're at, you're staying right in Duval then, in town. See, when I was down there, I mean, it was a Davao address, but the place I stayed at was kind of out northwest of town a ways. We used to just take the bus every so often, run into town or jeepney, whatever, to go in and hit the malls and whatnot. But and see, when I was in Davao before, that's back when Duterte was the mayor. Now his daughter is. Come on, Fluffy. Come on. Good girl. Somebody help her. Turn around the other way. Hey. Yeah, and I think it's only going to get worse. Well, one thing about the Davao area, though, they're situated in into behind the mountain stuff enough that if you get a typhoon or whatever, they usually make out pretty good there. In comparison to other places. Just from what I've been seeing of it there, recently since Rena's been home, I kind of like that Baguio area. They seem to have a little bit of everything in the town, and with their elevation, the weather's not too bad. I mean, she thinks it's cold, but for most of us here, it's not. Ronald, when you said Indian gas stations, are you talking about the overseas Indians that have them here, or are you talking about American Indians? Why is that, Jim? I know some people go over there and hey, Peter Dell. Not walkable at all for older people. Yeah, I see it is kind of up and down hills and stuff there for like Lorena's at. Okay, Ronald. Because the only place when I was on the road that I run through the Indian reservations and stuff was out in Oklahoma. But I always got fuel down on 40 first, and then didn't get any more until I got up in Kansas on 35. So I never bought anywhere on reservation. $2 a liter. See, that's expensive. That puts it at $7.56 a gallon. Now, is yours regular gas or is it unleaded? See, that's one of the things like in the Philippines, they don't run unleaded fuel. They're using the old regular gas. I'm not sure in Canada. I know with the diesel, they're running regular diesel up there, which costs more than the biodiesel that we run. Playing with my calculator. But the biodiesel gels up easier than the regular diesel does. Some of the Canadian drivers, when they were going north, would try not to get too much U.S. fuel out toward the border before they got back into Canada so they could buy their regular diesel, even though it costs more, but it didn't gel up on them so easy. Because they go back up like North Dakota and head back across the border up there, sometimes their trucks would damn gel up and would quit on them before they get across the border. Regular unleaded and 98% unleaded. Yeah, see, all of ours down here is now unleaded. You can get the ethanol free, which is better, but costs a bunch. But they stopped, the leaded gas years back. And one of the things when they did that, when they switched from the leaded gas to the unleaded, the price went up. It cost more. And they said, well, that's because they had to take the lead out of it. The lead was an additive they put in the original gas as a lubricant. The newer cars don't require the ethanol, or the lead rather. So they, now we have unleaded fuel, but they fooled the people thinking it was an extra expense to take it out so they could raise the price on it. And everybody believed them. Yeah, the ethanol and the biodiesel, all it is there is made from grain alcohol. You're running moonshine in your vehicles. It doesn't get as good a fuel mileage as the straight gas did, or regular diesel. Biodiesel doesn't burn as with as much power behind it as the regular diesel does. That DEF fuel that you have to get for the diesels now, it's an additive. That stuff freezes up real bad in the winter too. I have 10:30 p.m. here, Sunday evening. Yeah, if you're 2:30, you're in the eastern part of Australia, because the western part of it's 13 hours ahead of us, the same as the Philippines and Hong Kong. Philippines right now is 11:31 a.m. where Eastern U.S. time is 10:31 p.m. right now. And for those in the U.S., next Sunday we go back on daylight saving time. So that'll put us back on the 12-hour spread with the Philippines again. Okay, Ronald. Well, Peter, they did that back, I think, during one of the world wars, supposedly, because when they change it to daylight savings time, we move our clocks ahead. So 7 o'clock in the evening now becomes 8 o'clock in the evening. So they figured that gave you an extra hour of daylight at night to do stuff. And there's a lot of people that wish they would leave it alone. I would rather than just go to standard time and leave it that way and quit changing it back and forth. And there's only a handful of countries that do it. The rest of the world don't. That's just like where most all the world uses the metric system. There's only, I think, 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system. One's being the US, and I don't remember what the other 2 are, but everybody else uses the metric system. So instead of gallons and feet and miles, you guys are using liters and meters and centimeters and whatever, kilometers. It'd be hard for me to live in flip flops, Jim. Liberian Myanmar. Okay, I knew what they were, but I couldn't remember at the time. Like I said, I knew there was only 3 of them, and the other 2 are small countries. Yeah, just to wear flip flops would bother me. Yeah, that's another name for them, Peter. Or over there, they even call them slippers in the Philippines. Well, see, the thing of it is, Jim, I don't own even, and I haven't worn them in years. It's like sneakers. The last pair of sneakers I had was when I was in college. Um, I have dress boots. I have work boots. I don't own sneakers. I don't own shoes. I don't own flip flops. I don't own sandals. That's an interesting fact. Ken, he's not worried about keeping up with you. He's worried about keeping up with Rena and Marine. Them 2 short-legged girls will take off at a run on you. Why do you think I'm froze? I'm not froze on my end. We got up to 82 here today, Jim. It's still 67 here now. It's okay, Ken. He's got one of them new ones there that goes on a shoulder strap and looks like a fanny pack. One that makes oxygen from the air. Yeah, Ken, he wouldn't be able to get one of them big uh, machines there that you set in the house that makes oxygen for you. You just have the long tube through you can go through the whole house with. Because Rena would unplug it so she could plug in her dehumidifier. You know what elevation they're at there? Yeah, she might try that too. Or Jim, she may say, "I'll fix him," and she'll just plug it into the propane tank. Ken, down the hills or down the 3 flights of stairs? Yeah, Ken, when he falls and tumbles down the hill there, you can video that and send it back to his company and say, "Do you really want this guy driving for you?" Now she says that about potatoes, Mike, but I've never heard her mention it about French fries. Do they not? Do they not do the same to her? I can see Mike and Rena on the road there now. They hit the truck stops and they go in. The first thing she asks for is rice. Yeah, it might. 11 more days, huh? Well, I'm assuming he's got an inverter in his truck where she could still run it off 110. Because I even put an inverter in my truck when I was still on the road. That way I can charge my, my laptop and my Verizon hotspot. I carried a DeWalt cordless drill with me. If I needed, to work in the trailer or something, that way I could charge the batteries for it. What if I needed? I only put a 700-watt one in mine, where most of the semis have a 2,000 or 3,000 watt. We ate very little rice when I was a kid. My dad didn't care for it. I eat quite a bit of it now. It depends on what else I'm fixing and all, but a lot of times I might fix rice 4 or 5 times a week. 1,800, okay. See, the one I had in my truck was only 700. Yeah, then you'll have to go back and get another booster. There's another Filipino that's been in the Philippines or in Thailand for quite a while. She went there back before COVID to meet with her boyfriend he's British. And then with the COVID lockdown all over the world, they got stuck there. Yeah, I know rice is fattening. And there's not really a lot of nutritional value to it. But that's kind of like eating a salad. There's not much nutritional value to lettuce and celery either. They're just a filler. But I always kind of doctor my rice up anyways. What I've been making lately, for a while there, I was putting diced ham in it. Now I'm using the cans about the size of a can of tuna fish, dumping that into the rice when I make it, of chicken. And then lately I've been, when I make it and eat it that first night, what I have left over, I other nights I put it on my plate, stick it in the microwave for a little bit to heat it back up. But I'll put some shredded cheddar cheese on it, melt on over top of the rice. But if I make it fresh and eat it that first night, I usually put butter on it, and then a lot of times I put hot sauce on it. Well, that's true, Ronald. But the thing of it is, rice is their main staple in the Philippines. It's the thing they've got most access to because it's grown so much there. And you can't convince them that they don't need it. I mean, it's kind of ingrained into them that they have to have rice or they can't survive. years back when I was talking with a girl that was from the Philippines wanting to come over here, and I told her, said, well, we don't have rice here. They outlawed it. Don't allow you to have it anymore. And she just, with all the honesty came out, she says, oh, what will I eat? Yeah, and Mike, like we were talking there last night with Kevin Nash, when I make rice, 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water, that'll last me 3, 4, 5 meals. The last time I made it, I messed up because I wasn't thinking what I was doing, and I dumped my 2 cups of water in, brought it to a boil, and then added, without thinking, it's supposed to be added 1 cup of rice. I added 2 cups of rice, and I said, oh crap. So I hurried up and dumped in another pan, 2 more cups of water, and brought it to a boil to dump in with the rice. So I had enough water for the 2 cups of rice. So I end up with a big batch of it, for leftovers. Well, that's all I eat it too, Ron. I only eat it at night for supper. I never eat it for breakfast or lunch like they do in the Philippines. I mean, I ate it over there more than once a day just because that's what they were feeding where I stayed at. Heart attack, can happen at any age. Well, I need to lose, but I need to start getting out and doing stuff. I spend too much time sitting here watching YouTube and stuff or watching TV, and then I get bored and I sit here and eat. When I was on the road, I always used to lose weight, but I didn't have the sitting around munching all the time like I do here. I mean, I had snacks in the truck. I had cookies and crackers and Pringles or whatever, in the truck that I munched on all the time while I was driving. But the loading and unloading cars and climbing up and down on the trailer and stuff, was just more activity than what I'm doing now. And if you go anywhere to one of the big, like the Manheim auctions or whatever, the pickup cars, sometimes there you're walking a couple football fields out across their lot looking for them. If it's a good auction yard, they usually have the stuff set up pretty good, so you can do your paperwork and know where it would be because it's all the parking spots out there for the cars are numbered. But sometimes you get one where the people working it don't put them in by number. I didn't think you looked that heavy, Ron. Yes. Ken, when I used to drink a lot, I was lighter than I am now. 155. How tall are you? But anymore, I'm lucky if I shoot one beer a month. Don't drink like I used to. Yeah, that's not too heavy, Ron. Not for that height. I'm 5'8" and about 175. I'd like to be down between 160 and 165. But I've been like usually around 172 for hell, better than 20 years. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said, with me, even just to lose the 10 or 15, I would feel a lot better. I mean, where it bothers me the most is when I try to do something working on the car or the truck down near the ground. Then your belly gets in the way. Yeah, that is true, Mike. It comes on real easy, but goes off hard. 29-inch waist. I haven't had that since probably high school. Yeah, but Rena and Marine will tell them they can't drink tap water. You got to drink the bottled water. Now, when I was in the Philippines, I drank tap water. And that's what I'm used to drinking here. I have my own well. In most places in the Philippines, your tap water is city water. You would think it would be suitable to drink. Yes, I don't have any water filters or anything on mine. I just drink it straight as it comes from the ground. My water I have here is pretty good. couple of my neighbors have a little bit of sulfur in theirs. Yeah, here where I live at, Ron, everybody has their own well. I'm out in the country. And just a half mile that direction is the Ocala National Forest. Yeah, in most places over there, you got to go get your own because they don't have it. Because like when I went back for it, because you're only allowed to take the whatever the hell they call them, the travel size toiletries and stuff like that, and they cost so damn much to buy. So I didn't take stuff like shave cream and shampoo or any of that. I just when I got there, that's the first thing I did is just go buy stuff like that, and also bought toilet paper. I tried to turn this toward her, and she keeps moving away from it. Yeah, Nancy, that's my one indoor kitty. That's Fluffy, and I've got 13 more outside. And she is about as spoiled as they come. And one of my trips over there like that, I took my razor with me. Forgot to take razor blades. So I had to go buy them. Couldn't get razor blades that matched my razor, so I had to buy a new razor too. Yeah, right now, Nancy, I've got a total of 14 cats. One inside, 13 outside. And I know at least one of mine outside is pregnant. So I'll have more. Damn cat food's getting expensive. And now it's getting harder to get. I I normally buy my cat food through that Chewy.com because it's right about the same price as Walmart now. It used to be cheaper than Walmart, but it's about the same price. And I don't have to go get it. Well, for the past week and a half, Chewy's been out of the cat food that I buy because I buy 9 Lives. So I went down to the local Dollar General the other day, get some down there. They were out. I ended up buying a 12-pound bag of the 9 Lives indoor. I usually get the 9 Lives Essentials. I bought a 12-pound bag of that just so I'd have some. And then yesterday I went ahead and went on back on Chewy. They had the indoor. I ordered 3 28-pound bags of that because they still don't have the essentials in. Yeah, Ron, they just need to get a bigger dipper to flush with. But I guess that's one more way they figure they save water. Yeah, and Ron, you talk about the elderly eating cat food. Some cases, some of the cat food and stuff you get, or dog food, either one, some of it's better for you than some of the food we eat. I think there's less preservatives in it. And depending on the brand you buy, half of the cat food and dog food brands are more grain than they are meat. Well, that's why I said I've been using the 9 Lives Essentials for, oh hell, over 20 years for my cats. But every place is just out of it right now with the way everything else is going. Walmart's are out of stuff and whatnot everywhere. But so I got the 9 Lives Inside, I think it's called, or whatever. And I compared them, ingredient to ingredient, and they're almost identically the same. It's just the indoor one has a little bit more, I think, in the plant life section than the others do, and it's supposed to be to help them, because cats outside normally eat grass and whatever too. So I'm hoping I don't have a problem by switching to it for this time, but time will tell. Years back, I used to have, uh, I used to get rather the cheaper store brands to feed them, just trying to save money. But I had one female that every time I turned around, she was having urinary tract infections. And I was taking her to the vet for that. And he asked me one time what I was feeding him. And I told him, he said, well, there's your problem. You need to switch to a better grade of food. And that's when I switched to the 9 Lives Essentials. And I never had any problems with her about that afterwards. So I've just continued using it with the rest of them. But if you try to go in and buy just the Publix brand or the Winn-Dixie brand or whatever, it's just cheap. That's all there is to it. Well, that's the other thing, Ken. Most places down there don't have hot water either. I've taken many a cold shower in the Philippines. And you would think that the big containers that they leave sit there with water in them all the time, as warm as it is there, the water would get warmed up. But when you go to take a shower with it, it still feels colder than hell. Yeah. And the other thing, Ron, for years, the government's turned around and paid the farmers to plow crops and stuff under so they keep the prices up. Even though there's people around the world, that are starving that stuff could have went to. And now they're using the extra to make gas and diesel with. So it still keeps our prices up. And the fuel we get isn't worth crap. Yeah, I remember when they used to give that out, the old Velveeta. When I lived up north, you used to be able to get it once in a while. The American Legion used to give it out. Yeah. Yeah, and you take a big block of that Velveeta cheese, you can make a lot of toasted cheese sandwiches or just sliced it to put on regular sandwich or whatever. Yeah, it made a good sandwich or melted over a hamburger or whatever. Yeah, grilled cheese. I said toasted cheese. Grilled cheese sandwich is what I meant. You used to have the little crooked metal handle there that had just a piece of wire across it that you used to be able to slice it with. Yeah, it would work there because it would melt easy. But the local American Legion up where I lived at up home used to pass that out every so often when they got it in. And the other thing there that people would go to the Legion for in the wintertime, they always set up an ice skating rink up there. So you could go over and ice skate for a while and eat your block of cheese and go home. A lot of the food banks down here, Ron, are getting their stuff from Publix, and I think some of them pulling it from another smaller chain, Save a Lot. But Publix groceries down here donates a lot of food to the food banks and stuff. You know, we never had milk delivery out where I lived at, but a little over a mile away was a dairy farm that we used to go to all the time, and they let us dip milk out of their big tank. And either I would, like ride over with my mom when she'd drive over there to get it, we'd fill it from the tank, or occasionally my sisters and I would take each of us grab a jug and we would walk over there and get it and bring it back. But by buying the milk there, we paid next to nothing for it compared to store price. And depending on when during the day you got it, if the churn was running in the paddles, were running in the big bulk tank, if it had time to sit, when you filled them jugs up and brought them home next morning, it'd be 3/4 cream. Then mom would dip that cream off and we'd make homemade ice cream. Come right down. And the only thing we ever used the carnation for was baking, and I think she used it too in the making ice cream if we didn't have the cream content in the regular milk. Now you sound like my dad. He grew up as the middle child of 7 kids on a farm in southeast Kansas. And they used to walk back and forth to school every day. and it was closer for them to walk across the pasture than it was to walk by road. Yeah, you can get real milk in some places, Mike, but it's hard to get and it's very expensive. Yeah, because even the babies and stuff over there end up getting powdered milk. We had the snow like that up in New York. Our average snowfall up there in the winter was 144 inches. Well, Ronald, there's another town, Oswego, New York. It was about 50 miles southwest of where we lived at. I've got the newspaper clippings around here somewhere for it because it was after I was in Florida. But one winter up there, over a 1 week span, they got 10 foot of snow. Everything was shut down because, it's hard to get rid of that much snow. You run out of places to plow it to and shovel it, whatever. They had buildings and stuff that were, the roofs were collapsing because of the weight of it. Yeah, Christian would be saying, well, that's nothing, 10 feet. I don't know where they're at now, but I remember seeing pictures and stuff that was taken when we were kids. The snowbanks and stuff were so big along the side of the road that we lived on out in the country. You could have put planks across the tops of the snowbanks and still drove your car through under it. I don't miss that snow. I don't miss that cold weather. Well, up in New York, Ken, we had the blizzard in 77. My dad was working at Fort Drum at the time up there in New York, and they got snowed in, had to stay there on post. So my mom and two sisters were home alone, and a buddy of mine and we both decided to walk from where we lived in the next village over to check. We went down and checked on his sister, and then walked over to check on my mom and stuff. Got to the intersection where we had to turn to go down the road to where my mom was at. Standing directly underneath the blinker light in the middle of the intersection, it was snowing and blowing so hard we couldn't find the road to go down there. Yeah, we used to get snow days in New York every once in a while. Sometimes it was because of bad snow. Other times they would even give us close the school because the temperatures were too cold. If it started getting 25 and 30 below zero, they'd close the school for the day. Yeah, we had so many school days figured into our system. If we used more than that, then they would just shorten up the spring break vacation or whatever. But they had so damn many vacations and stuff, like Christmas and midwinter vacation or break, whatever you want to call it, and spring break vacation and stuff like that. That we start school the second week of September and didn't get out to the third week of June. Down here, they start the end of August and they get out somewhere in May. Yeah. Well, one of the others they have down here that I've never understood. Every once in a while, they'll have a Wednesday, no school. You ask them, so how come there's no school day? Oh, today's teacher's work day. Well, what the hell do they do the rest of the time? Aren't they supposed to work every day? But they call it teacher's work day, so all the teachers can do whatever it is they do when they don't have students around. Well, that's true. And I think Florida's supposed to be one of the lower paid, states for school teachers. and what they do get paid. I mean, they're only in school, part of the year, and they break it up, figuring the wages there for the whole year, so they have a paycheck, going into summer or whatever. But yeah, like you say, it's not a lot. Well, this has been over 2.5 hours. I think I may call it a night on this one. It was good talking to those of you that have been here so long. Had several others that popped in and popped out different times tonight, but just like now, somebody just came in and 30 seconds later left. So I'll catch all of you guys later. Thanks for showing up. Y'all have a good night or a good day wherever you're at.